There it is. Can she hear me? Testing.
Yeah, you're.
She can't hear us.
I just this is live.
That's whisper.
I don't need all the way here to listen to me. I think you got it. Cool.
And you can hear me without hearing me?
Somebody have Rita's.
Testing.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can.
Pretty sure it's through there.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause it's like on a 30-second delay.
Yeah. Well, we should be good. Ever get tired of hearing my voice? When she comes, yeah, thank you. When she comes back, we let her know she'll be up and running. And I'm in here if she needs anything.
Hey, you gotta make an announcement that they're in closed session.
What's that?
Tell an announcement they're in closed session.
Oh, yeah, good point. Thanks for your help there, Kirby.
All rise.
This is Judge McCartney. For people joining us live, the county board, we had some technical difficulties. They've gone into closed session to discuss other matters, and they'll be out here in a few minutes, and we'll start the meeting again.
We're gonna lose our viewership then.
Wisconsin. Big evening near the Hancock County.
Said the garden, area, said the garden, want you to know why.
Oh, thank you very much. Apparently, I'm told that Judge McCartney and Crystal got it working. There you go. Thank you so much. Thank you. So do I have a motion to go back into open session? Andy, Tom, second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, no? Motion carries.
We're missing somebody.
Don and Derek.
Don and Derek took a little break.
Okay. Sam, you can, if you would, Sam, come up here to the table and they can turn one of those mics around for you. It really helps with the streaming. I'm sure Don and Derek will be back in quickly. We're now at item 5 on the agenda. Discuss and/or approve proposed ambulance, International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, union agreement for fiscal years 25 through 28. And with us is Samantha Rober, our outside legal counsel from Giffen Winning. And she's going to just give a brief overview of the proposed contract for the union, which they have recently ratified. And after her presentation and any questions, discussion, I hope we can look toward approving the contract tonight. So Sam, if you'll go ahead.
Sure, thank you. So what we have here is the agreement between the Pike County Ambulance and IAM. There was approximately 11 changes to the agreement. Most notably, you'll see a new employee orientation. The grievance procedure was cleaned up to make consistent for the time limitations versus days versus calendar days. There was a change to vacation scheduling to make that so they could have priority vacations without being rejected. Holidays, you'll see an addition of New Year's Day and Christmas Eve and the removal of the day after Thanksgiving. Insurance costs, you'll see for the 27-28 year, there was a change mostly to the percentages. It's an employer contribution of 75% of the monthly premium for employee only and 60% of any basically spouse and or dependent coverage. And you'll also see that the deductible for the HSA plan was $100 per month. There's a minimum staffing level change or addition that's new to the contract this year. In terms of wages for EMTs and paramedics, you'll see a starting wage increase, a base wage increase for those who are currently employed. And then for years December 1st, 2026 and December 1st, 2027, you will see an increase for all employees who've been there over a year. Changes to the long distance transfer pay were to establish in writing what's been being done thus far. And then you'll see longevity was added, so there's an addition to those who are currently employed. There was an addition to their longevity, and then those who are hired after December 1st, 2025 will receive a different scale. And then finally, there was an addition of a waiver for the Paid Leave for All Workers Act, which is mandated by law. I'll take any questions.
Those changes will be incorporated into this big one, is that what you're?
Correct, and those changes are incorporated, and I have a final copy here for signature if approved tonight.
Any questions from the board members? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the contract? Derek?
Second.
Motion by Derek, second by Lance. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, the contract's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Samantha.
May I approach? Oh, you're not a judge. I was gonna say, may I approach? There you are, and if you'll sign that and return it to me, or scan it in.
Okay.
Or sign it right now.
Okay, let me do, I'm, it. And you have a signed one by them?
I'll send that over, to sign one by them, and they'll print booklets for all the board members.
Okay. Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, then item 6 is approval of previous month's regular meeting minutes. I do have just a few points on this. I don't know if others have had a chance to look at it or not, but in the section where it talks about actions by building and grounds, there were three separate actions regarding sale of property. And I guess we don't have them in our packets, do we? Yeah. On the third one, there were three different buyers, and Lance had negotiated a price of $2,000 for each of them. It says $2,000 on the first two, but it doesn't say $2,000 on the third one. And it should, and yeah, I think it'll look curious if we leave one of them off. The other thing, and I realize you weren't here at that, well, I guess you were here last time. Jim made a statement about the land sale, and I can't remember everything you said, Jim, but you made the point it was important to say why we were setting such a low sale price.
That ground is very restricted on the uses it can, and that's why it is $2,000 an acre and not 10 or 12. Because the federal government, because it was a purchase from a flood buyout.
Because of the flood
Yeah,
buyout
basically
restrictions.
says it can't be used for anything in the future.
Yes, thus the lower sale price.
Yeah.
I think it's important the minutes reflect that, and it doesn't say anything about that. The other thing, if we could, I think under the treasurer's report, it just says that Scott reported we transferred the fourth CD, and I think it would be good if we said, you know, from the highway department or the windmill road use agreement, something. I mean, if anyone were looking it up, they wouldn't know what we were talking about. And the other, my last comment, if you could just take this back, I'm sorry Natalie's not here, but this month's minutes is really just a record of the votes we took for the most part. And I don't feel that that's necessarily sufficient. I think it should summarize our discussions a bit. I'm not sure why they were done this way. To me, it's quite a bit different than how it's been in the past. And I'm not sure it's the right direction to go. And Walker, I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know if you've even seen them or had a chance to look at them, but anyway, if you could just take that back to Natalie and say, I think it would be better to have some.
Going back, where was the transfer of the CD from?
It was a CD that was held by the highway department at the Farmer State Bank. And it was from the windmill construction road use agreement. And we're cashing it out to help cover our deficit. So thanks for those notes. Anyway, given that, I'll leave it. Natalie emailed them to all of you this afternoon. So is there a motion to approve those minutes? I'd like to add with the corrections that I just gave Catherine. Or the additions, I should say, rather than corrections.
So moved.
Motion by Tom, is there a second? Don? Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Okay. All right, minutes are approved with a nay from Derek. Item 7, discuss past levy issue regarding Western School District. Derek or Lance, do you want to speak to this, or do you?
I mean, I just know there was some discrepancies between the school board and the superintendent's version of kind of how things happened, and I wish Natalie would here to kind of discuss her side of it. At this point, I believe they're going to, I mean, they have no choice, they'll figure out a solution. I don't know the details of what they're going to do now, but it looks like they're just going to have to do a larger increase spread out over the next couple of years compared to what this previous tax bill was. I don't have a more detailed description of what's going to happen besides that.
Okay. And yeah, Derek, go ahead.
And I was going to add, we put this on the agenda if Superintendent Powell wanted to come and speak. I actually went to the board meeting to kind of get an idea of what their thought process was. And it appears that they're looking at trying to extend what was supposed to be collected last year and looking at massaging those numbers maybe 2 years from now. But I hate to speak on behalf of the schools. So I'll let them answer that. But what I did want to say is that being a taxpayer in Western School District, it appears that what was collected last year and what I think the levy is going to go up to is potentially around 14.5%. And on top of whatever happens here with our county, and we don't know what the EAV, I thought that it would be best for all parties involved to at least start having the dialogue to say there's going to be an increase. I don't know any way around that. So when people get their taxes, they're not all of a sudden surprised and say, why the heck did this happen? So there's a reason that it happened. We're trying to address it, or the school district's trying to address it. But I just wanted to kind of be forthfront and honest that there's going to be an adjustment to the tax bill to recoup some of this, or even a difference between what was collected last year and what's going to be collected in the future year is going to be an increase. So just trying to give everybody a heads up is the purpose that I thought we could try and at least discuss it, so, or make people aware. So that was it.
And the main point I wanted to bring up, and my reason for putting it on our agenda, is, and I'm sorry I couldn't go to the school board meeting. It was Wednesday evening, and Lance and I mean, we talked about this with Natalie in the finance committee. Then Lance and I still had building and grounds, and I still had public safety, so I couldn't get over there. But my understanding is, and this is from the superintendent, that Natalie offered or suggested that the county could give them a loan from the tort fund. And I believe from what Derek has told me, Derek did go to the school board meeting, that the board ended their meeting by saying they would be discussing this further. But I made it clear to the superintendent, at least I hope I did, when I was speaking with him about the issue, that I didn't think such a loan would be allowable, and that we don't have any money. And if we did have funds sitting around, we'd use them for our deficit, not to correct this issue. But anyway, I believe that Western Board left the meeting with the idea that that might still be an option. And if anybody feels differently about that, please speak up. But I don't think that is a realistic option for this board to do.
And I'm not going to speak for Natalie, but I do know in your packet is the signed by the superintendent that was what he did sign off on. Him and Natalie have had correspondence back and forth, and what he submitted to the school board meeting, I believe, was what they approved and how they chose to go ahead and space that out for the next 2 years.
And did you have the impression, Derek, that they did make a decision to do that, or they're still discussing that?
Boy, you're talking about this? Okay, so yeah, if you look at this, this is the levy confirmation for 2024, all dated March 13th of 2025. So this is what happened. And what happened was that there wasn't the second bond for the $233,000 that was added to the $118,000. So I thought this was just pointing out the mistake that was made.
Well, it's just that he didn't catch that the other bond wasn't on there.
Right. Well, after the school board meeting, and again, I don't want to, I'm not going to speak on it. My understanding was that it was caught and there was a verbal confirmation that, hey, where's the second bond? And it was going to get fixed. But again, I wasn't there. I didn't see anything in writing. So that would have to be a discussion with Mr. Powell. But yes, there is a copy here signed by the superintendent acknowledging that the second bond is not on there in order to have the correct levy done. So if that's what you're asking, to acknowledge that that's there, then yes, that's there. But this by no means is giving any direct correction to what the school board decided to do. To the best of my knowledge, I think they were coming up with a plan B. I don't believe the tort fund was an option that they were going to consider. I think they were going to try and handle it internally between their own funds. They were working with their auditors, the accountant, their bond person. There was a lengthy conversation that had nothing to do with me. So that's where we're at the moment. So I can't answer what the school's going to do. But this form is the correct form that I believe has been sent out, showing where the superintendent signed off on the second bond not being included in the levy. And I believe this is the levy that was submitted for holding taxes for this past year, which did not include that second bond's payment. So if that's what you're asking me to clarify, that's what I'm clarifying.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just think, not to drag this out any longer than it needs to be, but it just didn't sit well with me that it was like, this was a fairly new, the signing off on the levy thing was something new that was added, I don't know, 4 years ago-ish. What's that? 2023. So it's a fairly new process. I don't know, and I guess if this would have happened in 2022, then the clerk's office would have been responsible since it wasn't signed off on. I don't know. But I just think, I don't want to see this happen again. I know a lot of taxing bodies are made up of people from the community that don't necessarily have an expertise in how levies work or anything like that. So I feel like just saying, yeah, we made a mistake, but it's not our fault that they didn't catch it is not a good, that doesn't sit well with me. So I feel like the process could be improved.
I think it was improved. That's why there's checks and balances, just like there is.
Yeah,
I
but
made the comment, when you sign off on something, you review it.
Yeah.
He has an actual accountant he could have sent that to that would have been looking for.
yeah, but it still
there
failed,
is still-
and they didn't catch it until the school caught it and realized the bond wasn't on there because they weren't getting paid. So I'm just saying, I feel like there could be a little bit more review other than the taxing body signed off on it. The clerk just takes it.
You can
And,
come up with an idea as we go through.
I did.
Like I said, he
I
looks
pre-
for 2.
yeah.
We go through 100. So, I mean, we
Yeah,
do.
I presented it in the meeting. I said you keep a list of all the resolutions presented and the bonds and when they're supposed to be put on, and somebody just checks it.
With them too.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. But like I said, it goes back to my question with Jim there. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, whose responsibility was it then? So just to all of a sudden have this created and then say, Now it's not our responsibility anymore. It just, that didn't sit well, so, especially because it impacts the community who are already going to face higher costs due to our financial situation, so, that's all.
Okay. If there isn't any other questions or discussion, we'll move on to item 8. Although Walker, I don't see Keisha or Gary, so are we not ready to do that
I
tonight?
don't think we're ready to do that. There's really no hurry. As I
Yeah.
reported to the board, the courts have made it even more clear that counties have zero say, and cities as well have zero say where solar farms are placed. But it's still a good idea to have this mutual agreement, though, I think. So
Okay.
we'll get it filed.
We'll just table it until next month or whenever you guys say.
Do we need to make a motion to table it, or
No,
just say the word table?
she just, as the chairman, she just said there's nothing to discuss.
Okay.
and move on.
Okay, then item number 9. This actually kind of came after a discussion at the Finance Committee regarding outside legal counsel to advise the board on budget authority and spending compliance and payroll issues. I mean, this is something we certainly don't want to spend money unnecessarily. And, we can have more discussion about this before we act on it, but I feel that we're kind of at an impasse with regard to the authority the board has when it comes, for example, departments with elected officials leading those departments. What happens if they overspend their budget? And we had, I guess maybe a tense discussion at finance about different scenarios that it can occur, and I don't think we have a good answer on this. So one option would be to seek other legal counsel to get advice. If people have any comments or input into that, please take this opportunity. Walker, if you want to make a statement about it, please do. It's nothing,
Let me know when you're ready for me to make a statement, because I want to make one. Whenever you're ready.
well, would you mind coming over here so the mic can pick you up? And then people can hear your statement before decide if they have any questions or anything.
Sure.
Chairman, I have a question right off the get-go.
Go ahead.
Walker doesn't have to even come over. Why would we pay for outside counsel when we already have counsel here? Our finances are tight as it is, and you're wanting to go out and spend more money.
Because
Because you don't like the answer that Walker is giving you. I mean, I don't understand why we would go outside of, for legal counsel, when we have our legal counsel sitting in our midst every time we have a board meeting. Every time we have a council meeting or committee meeting, he's here. I don't get going outside and spending more money.
Well, he's not here every time we have a committee meeting, but that's irrelevant, I think. I don't know that anybody.
He's been most of the ones I've seen him at, so where I've been at. I just have a problem when we discuss that we have a shortage of money. And right there, we're gonna go outside and pay somebody else to get an opinion when we have a state's attorney that is our legal counsel. I do not understand why you would even think of it when we're short of money in finance. We talked about it, we just talked about it in union issues. And now we're gonna go spend more money for legal counsel do not understand the whole process of your thoughts.
I don't disagree, Tom, but that's, not to keep beating this dead horse, but that's the same argument we made on the property and casualty insurance, so.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, could I just say though,
I'm gonna act like an attorney now and tell you, if you'll reference Ashton versus Cook County, the Illinois Supreme Court ruled that we don't have the authority to hire someone under these measures. So, I mean, we can waste time talking about it, but we can't legally do it. Labor negotiations are an allowed exception, but we cannot impede on the constitutional authority of the state's attorney or other elected officials.
I wonder in this situation what a policies and procedures manual would do for us.
well, that's one of our questions. What would it do if the department heads aren't bound by it? And that literally is one of our questions. What my thinking is, we have such a deficit, and one of the things that I feel we are accomplishing recently is I had asked Derek if he would come into the finance committee meetings with reports that show what the budgeted line items are, what the spending is year to date, and what percentage people are either on target or over or under. And he started doing that at our last meeting. And I don't in any way mean to single out you, David, the Sheriff's Department, because this is just our first go at this, and there's a lot of other things to look at. But the report that Derek had at the Finance Committee, for example, and just an example, showed that the Sheriff's Department is overspending on overtime at this particular point in time. Now, there could be good explanations for that. We're through a quarter of our budget year. So the spending should be right at 25%. The overtime is at 36. I'm assuming that maybe some of that overage is buyout of comp time in December. David, to his credit, as I understand it, went back to his department and talked to his managers about the need to watch any unnecessary overtime. So I know he's paying attention to it. But our question was, what if this continues through the year? Say we're in August, and we're still showing overtime going at this rate. What authority does the board have? And I'm very worried about the spending on that. The audits, of course, the audits are so old because we haven't been up with them, but they're showing that departments do overspend their budget. And we can't wait until the end of the year like we have in the past, where department heads just come in October or November and say, I'm over in this line and I need you to do a budget amendment. We need to find ways to control it and hopefully reduce it now while we're still early in the year. And the one thing that Walker has said is our main authority with the board is the power of the budget. But once we pass that budget and give it to the department heads, where then does our authority continue, or where does it stop? Walker said is we need to monitor it through the year, we need to manage it, and if we see that it's going over, then we can put the brakes on. But when I asked you, what's the break, what do we do, I don't feel that we had an answer. So it's not, as Tom said, that I don't like the answer Walker's giving. I just feel like we don't have an answer at this point. And I'll stop there and let Walker talk,
My turn? Okay.
please.
Okay. Let's, I won't try to take up too much of your time, but because this is a waste of time, the way it's been presented. Number one, you all know where I work. You all have my number. You all have my email. And the only person in this room right now who is actually asked me for a specific opinion on specific stuff is Mr. Circle back here. I think he's still back there. And I recently provided a rather detailed analysis of state law as it regards to this 5-year payroll issue. So I'm assuming that's why payroll is on item number 9 here as well. But I know what you're talking about. You're talking about budgeting and budgeting compliance. So number one, you talked about, your words, not mine, that it was a contentious finance meeting. That might have been because I was grouchy because I'd been in court all day and had a cold. But nobody told me before the finance meeting that you wanted to have a detailed discussion on what you just said. Nobody told me that this item number 9 was going to be on the agenda tonight. I found out about it just like the public would find out about it. And the short answer on this is it's a colossal waste of time, because if you'd bothered to ask me before you put it on the agenda, I would have showed you this is just the tip of the iceberg on state law. I mean, Mr. Shepherd spoiled it.
Sorry.
1943, the Illinois Supreme Court ruled that counties have no authority to hire outside legal counsel, that the state's attorney is your legal counsel, end of story. When it comes to advice and counseling them on legal matters. Don't confuse that with union negotiations. That's a separate issue. The board has full authority if they, want to spend money on that. But when it comes to advice, I'm it. I have 3 clients have been determined by state law. I have the county board, I have the county officials, and the county residents as my client, because it's my job to prosecute and protect them from criminals. So let me get back. So the Supreme Court, this is settled law, and I've said that before, by the way. It's settled law in Illinois as to what everyone's powers are. It just confuses me that people who have been on the board for over 5 years do not understand what their powers and responsibilities are. I served on this board for 2 years. I was finance chair for 2 years. And I understood exactly what my duties were and what my powers were. And Mike Bourne was on the finance committee with me, and Cleve Curry was on the finance committee with me, and we knew exactly what our powers and duties were. And there's no mystery about it. It's called management. Every finance committee that I chaired, we looked at everything with a fine-tooth comb every month. The treasurer prepares reports every month. There's no secret on anything. It's just that, it was never considered much of a concern. I get it. You want to make it more of a concern, fine, but let's not claim that this is the first time ever that this board has paid attention to what's being spent, because that's not true. Okay, let me get back to my duties, though. So the Illinois Constitution was changed in 1971, and you're not the first county board to think that you have powers that you don't have. And so there's a whole bunch of people thinking that when the Constitution was changed, that changed all the rules, and they flooded the Attorney General's office in the 70s and the 80s with inquiries. And so that's why today there's hardly any inquiries to the Attorney General's office, because it's settled law on what everybody has to do. But I provided a copy for you tonight, Attorney General opinion from 1975, that was 51 years ago, that specifically says you cannot hire outside legal counsel to ask about legal advice on what your duties and responsibilities are. So, my only suggestion to you is communicate with me, and as I've said before, if you don't like my analysis of state law and what it is, I'm the messenger, folks. If you don't like state law, go talk to the General Assembly. Go talk to your representatives. Go talk to the governor's office. But the bottom line is we're a political subdivision of the state of Illinois. 2 years ago, in this very room, some of you wanted to, have the county form a militia. And I said, you can't do that. Everybody, not everybody, but some of you got upset with me. Then a year ago in this very room, a member of this board grossly misstated state law and effectively made an inference that at least 4 board members had committed a Class 4 felony. I mean, if you want to talk about legalities, talk to me. And some stuff needs to go behind closed doors, by the way. And I really don't appreciate it when people disseminate confidential legal memos that I've written for purposes of the board. And that's another thing I want to make clear. The powers of the county board are just that, the powers of the county board. Individual county board members have no powers. Your powers are exercised collectively. And that means you have to have quorums, you have to do it under the Open Meetings Act, and you have to operate by majority rule. But individual members cannot tell any elected official what to do. But collectively, you have very limited ability to tell an elected official what to do, by the way. I've attached to my handout here because it keeps becoming a problem. I mean, everybody complains about, well, we can't, we can't tell an office head what to do. Well, that's because office heads have their own statutory authority. Office heads are elected by the people. And I've put here state law, alteration of duties, powers, and functions of county officers. No county board may alter the duties, powers, and functions of county officers that are specifically imposed by law. That would include I'm empowered to give you legal advice. And, just to make it clear in the last sentence, in the event of a conflict, state law prevails over county ordinance. So, yeah, it's all spelled out, but that's not to say that there's sometimes gray areas in the law. For example, somebody mentioned it, DuPage County is having a fight between their county board and their county clerk about certain things. It's a fight that is a complaint over the county clerk following accounting procedures that have been passed by the county board. There's other stuff going on too. We don't have any procedures. I've offered some preliminary opinions on certain things that have been piecemeal put to me. But what I would suggest, because I went to the Finance Committee way back in July after the 2021 audit report said in one of their audit findings that, hey, you guys don't have written financial policies. That might be a good idea to have that. And nothing's happened. There's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of sturm and drang about it. But what I would suggest is just write it.
Well, let me interrupt you right there, because Derek has spent, I don't know how many hours just writing them.
Okay, have they been
So-
presented?
No, it hasn't yet.
Okay, well, that's what I'm
We are
saying.
still in the midst of looking at it.
That's what I'm
My
saying.
question is, before there are more hours spent on it, if we do this, how are we going to be able to enforce them? If the board say that we're able to come up with proposed financial procedures, the board passes it, I agree with what you said, that we've got to do this collectively, then how do we enforce it?
Madam Chair, I have made it crystal clear in a lot of my opinions that I've given you that there's very limited things that this board can tell a elected county official to do, okay? That's crystal clear. There's nothing new about it. That's been the law for 50 years. And I've gotten certain things piecemeal about this and that and the other thing, and all I've done is raise the flag to say, keep this in mind, you know, this and that. My suggestion is put something together in a draft and circulate it and put it on the agenda and say, this is what we want to do. And then that gives me an opportunity to go through it and highlight for you, yeah, that's good. No, that's a problem. And at the end of the day, if we can't reach common ground on anything, and this is where I was going with my DuPage County comment, if at the end of the day, you feel that you're right and elected officials feel that they're right, then come to me and tell me that, and that you want to make a court case out of it. And then lay out in great explicit detail on what you want to bring to the court, and I'll review that. And then we'll figure out where we go from there. But, you know, you cannot tell an elected official what to do. They have statutory authority. Your authority is over here. It's the budget. That's your big hammer. You got the budget and you got the levy. Those are your big hammers. But as far as writing a policy that says the county clerk shall do this, the treasurer shall do that, the state's attorney shall do this, the sheriff shall do that, if that directly conflicts with what the statutory authority for those offices is, then we got a problem. That's why I attached the alteration of duties statute on the back here, okay? I don't know what more to say. I was just, you know, kind of gobsmacked when I saw this on the agenda, and, you know, I'm here to help. And if you guys, yes, sir.
Derek?
Madam Chair. I mean, I suppose I could take partial blame in this, of getting it on the agenda primarily because of an event that happened Thursday or Friday over the weekend, where some employees had sent some emails to board members and displayed some very unhappy circumstances about hearing where an employee in a department had received some additional funds for employment, and that the board had passed that there would be no raises, but this individual appears to have gotten a raise. So I believe what you've accomplished, Mr. Filbert, is explained in no uncertain terms that we're sorry, employees of the county, but the board has no control over what department heads do within their budgets and with their employees. So coming to the board to try and express their unhappiness about who got a raise or why is outside of our scope. It's outside of our purview. Would you agree with that? Oh, I'm not even going to ask if you agree, because I think we've got stuff in writing, and I think you were very explicit in what you just explained. The board has very limited authority over fixing a lot of the problems that employees sometimes may bring to the board, and we just can't do anything about it. So I appreciate you spending the time and clarifying this and explaining all of that, because I think that just solidifies again, if we don't like that answer, or if the employees don't like that answer, then the only other option would be to possibly get a second opinion. And it is an opinion. I mean, I know the DePuge thing is an actual court case, but this is an opinion that's from 1975. So I don't know that things have changed since then or not. I kind of think maybe they might have. But until it actually goes to court, I don't know that any opinion is valid until it's in court.
Well,
But again, I'm not an attorney, so.
Incorrect. Number one, you have a Supreme Court case. That's where it ends. And you can't go, it didn't go higher.
So-
And Attorney General opinions have the weight of law.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
fair enough. I think that item 9 has clarified that unless we were to try and get a second opinion of some type, which it doesn't seem like we're allowed to do, then the answer stands. And I don't like that employees are disgruntled from what other employees do or don't do, and what's handled in their departments, I think, is within their departments. These weren't union employees that were involved in the conversation or the situation. So I think having it on the agenda and now being extremely clarified has solved the matter. So hopefully it shouldn't come up again. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
All I ask is next time, let me know. I work here.
Walker? Yeah. One legal question I have, contracts, the ability to enter into the board versus office heads. It's my uneducated opinion that office heads have very little authority in the actual entering into of contracts, and it falls with us, right?
That, as a general rule, is correct, but I would caution everybody to, paint everything with a broad stroke. Every situation is unique and different, but yeah, I
But
mean.
it is a possibility that it is a more minor tool that we can use.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying that there aren't tools out there for the county board, but to pass rules or regulations that says that an elected official has to do X and do Y and do Z, that's just not going to fly. That's not going to fly. Or, like, for example, you can't tell the sheriff, oh, stop patrolling Griggsville. You can't tell me, oh, stop, prosecuting meth cases. You can't tell the county clerk, I don't like the way that you're recording property, or I don't want to do any more birth certificates. Stuff like that. I mean, it's all spelled out. You guys have a budgetary authority, and it's never been an issue, but it's a double-edged sword, though, because me, county clerk, circuit clerk, treasurer, the assessor, we have directives, state law, that says we have to do this. It's not a maybe, we have to do it. There have to be elections, there has to be property records, there has to be prosecutions, there has to be police protection, there has to be financial statements. I mean, it's not a maybe thing. We have to do that. And the board has to figure out how to fund it, because we have to do it. So you have to figure it out, and that's, again, it's all budgetary. That's your main thing, day in, day out. I'm not saying it's not, but that's your main thing. And so.
But once we set the budget, then you as the department head have to figure out how to do your work within it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd like to add to that point and kind of follow up on Mr. Shepherd and contractual obligations, because I've been trying to look this up. It appears that the board will say, for example, could budget $15,000 for a payroll system, even though our existing payroll system is only $55,000. I think from what I'm hearing you say, if the board passes, here's your budget for $15,000, you need to figure out a payroll system to work within that. and they choose not to, where's the repercussion on that? What can be done in those situations?
Well, again, give me some specifics that are not off the top of my head here in an open meeting, because it's a little more complicated when you're talking about that. Because office heads have discretion, lots of discretion on how they exercise their mandatory state authority. And so, anyway, there's nothing new under the sun here, folks. This is what counties have been doing. There's 102 of them. This is what they've been doing since day one. And so that's it. That's all I have to say.
Okay, if there isn't any other discussion, I'm moving on to committee reports, starting with finance. Derek?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm trying to figure out how to go about doing this because I have received, which I think numerous people have received, that maybe there are some discrepancies in the minutes themselves. So I don't know if we want to kind of go through line by line and figure out what we need to amend as we go, or just read them all at once. But I'll start out with the Pike County Finance Committee was called to order at 4:06 p.m. on March 18, 2026 at the Pike County Government Building. Committee members Don Foster, Derek Ross, and Lance Kendrick were present in person. Rita Hoskins, Natalie Roseberry, Scott Circle, Walker Filbert, Paula Dean, Kim Ader, and others were also present in person. Under the 2025-26 budget discussion, Derek Ross presented to the committee the first quarter spending of personnel expenses from offices covered under the general fund. Expenses should be running at 25% or below. The overtime expense for the sheriff's office was at 36.21%. The animal control office personnel was at 27.33%. In total, it was identified that year-to-date spending compared to those expenses reviewed was at an average of 26.47%. Though that may not seem like much of a difference, annualizing that amount puts the expenses on track to be $131,643 over budget. Those amounts came from the report that the county treasurer's office sends to all board members and department heads, and the committee asks that everyone pay close attention to their spending for the coming future. All right, continuing. Finance policy update. Derek Ross read the following two statements, which our state's attorney kind of did for me here. It goes without saying.
I'm going to ask that not be read. I sent out an email about 6:10 on this. I don't want those those were taken out of context. They were cherry picked, and they were legal memos, that at least one that I specifically marked as attorney-client privilege and confidential. Again, if the board collectively wants to release that information, they have the right to do that. But I'm not going to sit back, and I expressed my displeasure with it at the finance meeting. And that didn't make the minutes that I was expressed my displeasure. If the board is going to release legal opinions that I've given, you're going to release the entire opinion and not cherry pick a sentence or two and take it out of context. So I do not want that read in an open meeting.
I would actually acquiesce till we can strike both of these because, as I said, Mr. Filbert has already just discussed them in this open meeting. So the items I was going to read have already been addressed.
You blurted them out before I had a chance to respond, and after the fact, I told you that I was very upset with that. And that certainly didn't make your minutes either.
So items 1 and 2 under the financial policy update, I am more than happy to strike if everybody is in agreement. Okay, so that will be an amendment that items 1 and 2 will not be read. While Derek said he found it a waste of time to continue writing financial policies that elected officials can choose to ignore, Rita Hoskins asked that he continue to still have something to present and adopt soon. Derek intends to have a rough draft by the next finance meeting. I did not state that at the meeting. I'm getting corrected on what I am stating and not stating, so I guess that last sentence could be struck also. But that is my intention, is that I do try and, I will try and have some type of finance policy in place before the next finance meeting. So please go ahead and cross through the last sentence. Well, actually, to that point, anything we need to fix? All right. Update, CIC Paycom payroll. Derek Ross said that he thought he had everything ready to go to bridge the data from Paycom into CIC last month and reported such at the last county board meeting. Unfortunately, the clerk's office still interprets entering the payroll data from Paycom into a spreadsheet that can be uploaded into CIC is outside of her duties. So the issue remains unresolved. I would recommend that we go ahead and cross out the sentence that says, unfortunately, the clerk's office still interprets entering the payroll data from Paycom into a spreadsheet that can be uploaded into CIC. That whole entire sentence could be crossed out because that was not said at the meeting. That was my own my own interpretation of emails that went back and forth between the state's attorney, the county clerk, board members, and I suppose I should have had those emails printed out to bring to discuss. But the moral or the essence of the story was I thought I had a fix. It was ready to go. We still don't have a fix. So that's where that sits. All righty. Fund balances. The fund balance financial report from the treasurer. The treasurer states that there is around $233,000 in the general bank fund account to get us to the end of the month. We may need to use some of the anticipation notes. The retirement fund balance. The retirement fund may run low before the first tax installment is received, so the county may need to get an anticipation note to cover the retirement funds. That was a generalization. I think somebody brought to the attention is that there wasn't nothing said. It was said at the meeting, but I didn't put in the minutes. We're roughly about $100 and some odd thousand short for the month. That's where I had said that we may need to use our anticipation notes, but I did not add the $100,000. So if we would like to amend the minutes to include that $100,000, I'm open to that. So I'm going to say $100,000 short. Now, that being said, what also was discussed was we have money in fees of others that we were looking at using to make up about maybe 50,000 of that. And then there was another 25,000. I apologize, I didn't put it in the minutes. But it was discussed that we were short. There was an idea talked about on how we were going to correct it, but I apologize if I wrote everything down. We probably have about 6 pages here. So, but it was something that was missed. While I'm saying that, it is now my intention to make sure that some way, shape, or form, we will record the meetings from this point forward, either so that way publicly they can be seen, or to make sure that I don't make another mistake like this and miss some stuff. So, moving on.
Derek,
Yes, ma'am.
also on that retirement fund balance, I thought we also discussed the possibility of using that fourth CD.
We did discuss it.
That was another option that could.
Right, so instead of using the anticipation loan and incurring interest for it, it's kind of a 6 one way, half dozen the other. We lose the interest on the CD if we cash
Well, the
it.
CD's been cashed in, so there's,
Oh, the money's sitting there?
That was what
Yeah.
I said last month when you approved the minutes.
Then I sure do apologize, but I see no reason why we wouldn't use that instead of using an anticipation note. But, and I'll take the blame on that. I suppose that should have been clearly spelled out in the agenda that we were going to discuss it and to come up with a plan. Normally, it's kind of been left to our treasurer to determine where the money's at in order to try and get it paid for. It sounds like there's money sitting there, not in a CD that needs to be cashed out, so I would recommend that we go that direction before incurring interest on an anticipation note. But that wasn't discussed, so I guess we're discussing it now. Okay. Under old business, Don Foster brought up the amount that is paid monthly, more than $10,000 a month to an outside firm for medical care to prisoners at the jail. He asked again why the Pike County Health Department cannot handle these services, and Paula Dean and Kim Ader explained that there just isn't the funding in the health department to handle such needs. Derek Ross asked, how much funding did the Pike County Health Department not receive because the county could not levy the total amount allowable to the max? The guess was about $40,000 to $60,000. Derek Ross then asked why the health department didn't question the board members that voted for the more expensive property casualty insurance, which was around $90,000 more expensive than the alternative and could have helped fund the deficit they were requesting. There wasn't really a response. That conversation happened. That conversation happened specifically with Ms. Ader and myself. I don't know who all heard it or didn't hear it, but I understand that there's been some questions about it, so I'm happy to adjust if there's additional conversation that needs to be added to that. But I don't know that I am open to changing anything because it was said and the conversation was held.
And I think Ms. Ader was sending you an email when she read this because she did not agree with how it was stated. She kind of gave you the response that she had the figures. She wanted to go back before she made any type of dollar amount regarding this.
And I can clearly understand that. Unfortunately, when I'm doing the minutes, I believe I'm supposed to say and put in what was said at the minutes. And I know that 40 to 60,000 was said, but it was a guess. And I guess I should have put in there, was not sure of the amount. That's why I put a range in there. I wasn't holding anybody accountable to where that was the amount of money that they missed out on. I asked, and that was the number that was given to me as a range. So that's why I put it in. So,
Okay, but I guess the comment, there wasn't really a response. There was a response because she didn't like the guessing portion of it. She has the exact figures that she was willing to go back and look at and give further details later on that had the accurate numbers.
but that wasn't necessarily the question here. The question is that, and this wasn't put in the minutes either, but I've noticed that some, specifically Ms. Ader, has questioned in the past where we've spent $2,000 for sickage or where we've spent maybe CIC or $700 in CIC. But I've yet to hear a question from the health department on why did we not get our levy funded? Oh, well, because we spent it over here. It's just interesting on how certain people ask certain questions. So that's what I was saying there wasn't a real response to, was her not asking a question to board members, not necessarily a response to the dollar amount. So that's why that follows that question about the board members, and the response wasn't put up at the top next to the 40 to 60,000, because that was the response that she gave me, between 40 to 60. All right, moving on. New business. Western School District situation was brought to the attention of numerous board members that roughly $233,000 was not levied and collected for the Western School District. Per an email from the county clerk, it was suggested that the county loan money to the school out of its tort fund. That was not going to be an option. I don't know that I said that or not, because I was really kind of confused on how the county clerk actually had the authority to even offer that as an option. But irregardless, I put it in there. You can strike it out if you'd like. The county clerk was clear in stating that even though her office made a mistake, it is the taxing body's responsibility to catch their mistakes. I believe Ms. Raftery actually just explained that again, is that it is the responsibility of the taxing body to double check the work. Therefore, the county has no liability. The error that the clerk's office made is the same error that Derek Ross identified when reviewing the 2022 audit. That error cost the county around $300,000 in funding. What I didn't put in here was that when asked that specific question, is this not similar to where the levy was different when we looked at the 2022 audit? And I identified what I believe was the board had passed a 0.37% levy, and what had ended up being put in the levy was 0.27. The answer at that time was, yes, it's a similar situation. So, all righty. Let me get through the end, or do you have a specific question on that?
Going back to the health department, I am the president, my name is David Lister, I'm the president of the Board of Health. I spoke with Kim Mager this afternoon, and I just want to clarify a couple of things, that the amount, the question about why we were paying an outside source wasn't because we really couldn't afford it. We do not have the nurses there that can do the job, so it has to be given over to Adams County. That's the main reason. The other thing, you made a remark about, we should have talked to the county board on how they voted on the various things, the insurance or whatever, and not the one that was saving $9,000. That's not our job. That's your job to make a decision. And we weren't the only one that took a cut in our finances. There were other departments that did too. And it seems like we're putting the finger on the Pike County Health Department for these issues. And we do the best that we can. And like I said, I consider this to be a gem within the county on what we provide for as little money that we get coming in. And that's the point. And no response given, that should be slashed out of there too. Yeah.
I don't disagree, and that's where I just think if you had more money, you could do more. So,
well, if you're talking hiring a nurse, another nurse or two, and if you know anything about what it costs to hire a nurse, and that's been one of the problems, is that we pay far less than most of the other facilities around us. We can't compete. That's why we've gone together on many various things with the Adams County Health Department. They're much bigger, they have people that can do it, and so we've, in a sense, transferred a lot of those responsibilities to them. It's not that we don't have, we don't have the money to hire them, but we can hire them because we do not pay a comparable rate to the hospital or these outside groups that come in from the county. So, I mean, you guys have your issues, we have ours that we have to deal with too.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. Paula and Kim both did a good job of making that point clear at the meeting. I don't think they were being attacked as much as they felt in the meeting.
Well, and that's their perception. I wasn't at that meeting, but you know, in many cases, one's perception is their reality. What you perceive may be totally different, which would be your reality.
So here's, since we're doing perceptions, here's what I'd like to say. If truly it was $60,000 that we could have freed up because we saved on the insurance, and if we're spending $120,000 a year for an outside firm, that's $180,000. With all due respect, I would prefer to continue spending the $180,000 and give it to the health department so they could hire nurses and they could do everything and we could keep it all in-house instead of spending the money outside the county. Now, we haven't gotten to that part of the conversation, and I don't want to talk on behalf of Don, but I think that's Don's frustration too, is why are we spending so much money outside the county when we couldn't be potentially working within our own health department, hire those nurses and hire what's needed?
And I would agree with you, Derek. But again, hiring people at the rates that we have for our nurses, we have not been very successful. We've been able to bring in individuals that are retired, that will work part-time to help fill in. And once you get a nurse that's comparably trained, you know, we've had many cases where they're out the door and they go to a facility that may pay them $10, $15, $20 more an hour that we can't do. I mean, that's just the way things are today. But I would agree, we would like to hire more nurses, but the way the system is and how much we pay and what money's available, we just can't do that. So it has to be, in a sense, offshore to another facility to take care of it that have people to do it.
Okay, thank you. Upon reviewing and approval of monthly bills, Don Foster made a motion and Lance Kendrick seconded to pay bills in the amount of $139,974.98. The motion passed. Under public comments, I had none, but it was sent to me that there was a public comment by Susan Pritchford that had asked about the possibility of putting money in a plan that the state of Illinois offers where you could get more interest. And so I mechanically asked how that would work because I'm concerned about these 70+ accounts that we're already trying to reconcile. Would we have one group account? She explained, from my understanding, that we'd have to have multiple accounts to match up with our multiple bank accounts. So we would be we can't write checks off of it, so therefore it would be transfers in and out. So then we would have to be keeping track of our existing bank accounts and taking care of the transfers back and forth into the state's account. And and I'm not going to speak for our treasurer, but it sounded like maybe getting an extra 0.1% or so for doing it all. That was not put in the public comments, and I apologize. So if anybody was writing really quickly and followed what I just said, I would recommend that we can put that amendment in there that Susan did say such a thing. And then adjournment, motion to adjourn. Don Foster made a motion and Lance Kendrick seconded to adjourn. The motion passed and the meeting adjourned at 5:39 p.m.
Do we have a motion to approve the finance minutes as corrected?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the finance minute with the omissions and the corrections that Derek stated along the way.
Motion by Lance, second
I'll second.
by Derek.
What we're,
Any other discussion?
My only comment is that I think this particular issue, I know Derek added some things that he was just trying to add context to, but the level of scrutiny that I see Derek held to and the level of accountability that people try to hold Derek to is not equally applied throughout our county offices and at this board itself. So we can communicate, obviously. We can organize and get everybody on the same page when it suits us. So I don't see why we can't hold people accountable across the board the same way we hold Derek accountable. So that's all.
And I would just add on to that when these emails started flying this afternoon, I felt like I was the only person in the county that hadn't seen the finance committee minutes. I mean, we typically do not get committee minutes until we show up here at the meeting. I don't believe anyone sends them out in advance, except I know when I was chair of finance, when I sent them to Natalie, or I think it was Haley then, I would copy the other committee members, but I didn't copy the whole board. And they are draft until they get here and we accept them or not accept them. So how Susan or Kim came to have them, I don't care right now. I don't want to know, but I do think we should follow our process that these are drafts that are reviewed by the whole board and they're not final until the board accepts them.
As we're talking about committee minutes, again, when you want these board packets, which are pretty lengthy, in order, that's a large part of our day, there has to be a deadline when those need to be received. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock isn't going to do it because I have other obligations, so does Natalie. So if they're not in by noon, which I think I spoke several months ago, they're not going to be in the board packet. They can read them here again, but then you're not letting the public know because it's not in the agenda. So
Well, it will be on the agenda, the committee minutes, and I
it won't be
suppose,
your packet, I guess is what I'm saying.
maybe so. I mean, the public doesn't see what's in our packet.
I
So,
don't know if they do, when the press gets a copy, but I mean, it's just courtesy, number one. I mean.
but understand
Like
too
Barbara
that,
said, you know, you email the agenda Friday, if there's no one there at 4 or 4:30, whose responsibility is it to put it in the vestibule? Because it wasn't there Friday at 6. I happen to have to go back to my office or something, so I put it on the door. So are we gonna abide by just, it's on the website? Is it on the website? Walker
Walker has advised me that the agenda needs to be posted on the outside door of the building where we're going to meet. I believe that
Responsibility to
it's,
stop
I
there.
believe that's Natalie's responsibility, but
Then
she
do it during
refuses.
work hours.
She refuses to do it.
No.
So I do it.
No, I disagree with that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Derek asked me in the finance meeting.
It's late. Let me move on.
Okay, then
But
when's the agenda gonna be posted outside? Scott, are you gonna take charge? of
It has to be posted 48 hours on the outside door of this building before we meet. And I always make sure it is.
So it doesn't
I'm-
need to be posted on the government building door?
I think it would be nice if it were, but as I understand it, it does not.
Well, I've talked about this before. And we disagreed on this point, but since we have a website, it only makes sense that it be posted on the website, and then we're covered. We're covered. And you don't want to do that.
I do want to do that, but Natalie won't post it on the website.
No.
I'm sorry, but she has refused to post it on the
She
website.
doesn't control the website. The county
But she
website-
is the board's clerk. She's our recorder. And I don't think it's out of line for her to take charge of making sure the agenda gets out there.
So at 6 p.m.
But I
on
do
Friday
it.
night, she needs
I
to
send it, I email it to all of you, I email it to the press, I email it to the department heads. I come out here and I post it on the door. If I get it there during the day, Walker has sometimes been nice enough to put it on the door for me. I've driven, that horrible cold spell we had, I drove out to, walked up there to put it on the door, and Walker had already done it. And that was wonderful. Scott has put it out there for me. Carrie's sister has put it out there for me. I make sure it gets done. Now, the wording in the Open Meetings Act is if you have full-time staff that are assigned to a website, then it has to be on the website, but we don't have that.
Okay,
So where it has to be is on this
I
door.
guess I'm confused. on
And
what
I have
page
never
two was
missed-
the administrative website.
Well, we can have that argument.
Yeah. Let's have it when we're not, us,
But to make
Right
it
in the
clear, if you're not going to use the website, it has to be on this building and the building across the street on the outside.
it says nothing about the building across the street.
Yes, the building across the street is our primary office of business. It has to be on that building, and it has to be on this building.
Well, that's the first time I've heard that. I'll check that out. Let's move on, please.
That's my advice.
So noted.
So
did
noted,
we-
but you don't agree.
That's not the way I remember the wording in the Open Meetings Act, but since Walker is saying it is, I respect that. I'll go back and look it up. I certainly will.
I'm a belt and suspenders guy.
Question.
So are there more discussion on the finance minutes? Don, did you have something?
Nope. Question. Take the vote.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay?
Nay.
Can we do a roll call vote?
Jim Shepherd? Andy Barlin?
Nay.
Don Foster?
Yes. Aye, whatever it is.
Lance
Either way.
Kendrick?
Yes.
Tom Lewis? Nay. Derek Ross?
Yes.
3 to 3?
3.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Don, do you mind reading highway for Joey?
Okay. Okay, got me? Okay, the Road and Bridge Committee met Wednesday, March 18, 2026, at 1:30 PM at the Pike County Highway Department facility located at 39643 260th Avenue, Building 4, Pittsfield, Illinois, 62363. The meeting was called to order at 1:30 PM. Roll call, present, Joe Cobb, Don Foster, Andy Barman, Rita Hoskins. Also staff, Chris Johnson, Gary Locks, Michelle McCartney, and John McAllister. And no visitors. Public comment, there was none. Payment of claims, the motion was made by Andy Barman, seconded by Joe Cobb to pay the claims per claims reports dated March 18th, 2026. All in favor, motion carried. Half aid to the bridge closeouts, there was none. CD investment, a motion was made by Andy Barman, seconded by Joe Cobb to put a portion of the money in the township motor fuel tax account into short-term CD investments. All in favor, motion carried. New business, County Highway 2 and County Highway 14 were in the state letting at IDOT on February 27, 2026. Illinois Valley Paving was the low bidder for the 10.62 miles of road work at $5,678,289. Construction is scheduled for this summer. Old business, there was none. Adjournment, a motion was made by Don Foster, seconded by Andy Barman, to adjourn the meeting at 1:37 PM. All in favor, motion carried.
Do I have a motion to approve the highway minutes? Motion by Tom, second by Lance. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Derek, GISIT?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The GISIT committee was called to order at 4 p.m. on March 17, 2026 at the Annex Building. Members present were Derek Ross, Jim Shepard. Members absent were Don Foster. Also present were Rita Hoskins, Brandy Wallace, Angie Brody, Dan Brennicky, and J.R. Bar Eyes from Tigerhawk, excuse me. Old business, nothing from the ambulance department on past issues was presented, so hopefully the implemented changes has corrected their issues. The copier in the treasurer's office is working properly now. Unfortunately, it was confirmed that Cindy Shaw's emails appear to be permanently lost. Under new business, J.R. Bar said Tigerhawk changed that employees can only access their Microsoft accounts from within the U.S. This is primarily due to the recent world conflicts that we're going through. Gooden and Associates can't seem to access their own software to make updates. There was a ticket that was submitted and is supposed to be addressed soon. There was a discussion about PDF files and Adobe. There are multiple accounts for Adobe throughout the county. It was suggested to consider consolidating those subscriptions. The renewals for subscriptions are staggered, so this will need to be tabled until later. Under public comments, Natalie asked about consolidating the website under .gov. It was agreed that all departments and IT coordinators should get together with Natalie regarding ideas for the new consolidated county website. Under payment of bills, Jim Shepard made a motion, seconded by Derek Ross, to approve the payment of bills totaling $4,277.57. The motion passed. Jim Shepard made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Derek Ross. The motion passed and the meeting adjourned at 4:40 p.m.
Have a motion to approve the IT minutes. Lance, second by Don. Any discussion? Derek?
Yeah, I forgot to add in here, and Mr. Shepard and I, we were discussing this along with Ms. Roseberry, is that we've now kind of committed to trying to do one consolidated website. I think we're all on the same page that it makes sense to have one county website and have all of the other departments kind of feed into that, instead of right now we have 3 websites and the county clerk was in the middle of starting a 4th. The one thing that wasn't really discussed was how are we going to pay for it? And so I know the clerk's office had started working on her website based off of, I think, monies out of her election fund. But when putting together the GISIT meeting or budget, that wasn't considered on developing a new website. So I just wanted to forewarn the public that there may be an amendment coming out on trying to get some ideas on what the total cost for the website might be. And continued forward. I still think it's a great idea to have one website, so we're only paying for one website a year for maintenance instead of 3, but there was a cost that's going to be coming up that I wasn't accounting for. So I just wanted to say that publicly, so.
Okay.
And Natalie's is because it's ADA.
Oh, yeah, the reason for doing it is not because Natalie was bored and said, let's start a website. I mean, the Department of Justice started something that said, due to the American Disability Act, by 2027, we need to have all of our websites ADA compliant, which then also, and thank you for saying that, also reinforces why it would be easier to keep one website in compliance instead of trying to keep track of 4. So that way you don't have department heads trying to say, well, I got to keep mine up to date or not up to date. I mean, hopefully the whole idea would be keep it all within the IT committee, GIS IT committee, if that's the case. So we're working on it once instead of 4 different ways. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Lance, Building and Grounds?
Thank you. The Building and Grounds Committee of the Pike County Board met March 18th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Attendees were myself, Tom Lewis, Rita Hoskin, Mark Mountain, Walker Filbert, and David Greenwood. At 6 p.m., we called the meeting to order. Mark Mountain made a motion to go into closed session. Tom Lewis seconded that. At 6:09, we exited closed session with no action taken. Under old business, the annex roof was leaking. Shane found some flashing that was bent up, so he caulked it and repaired the area to the best of his ability. We'll monitor for additional leaking, but roof repairs did not seem to be the cause of the leak. Discuss storm damage bid. Sheriff Greenwood will collect all necessary documentation from the contractor. Then we will give notice to proceed with the Sheriff Department and Health Department repairs. We will not put the annex foundation repair out for bids until grant funds are available. Under new business, we discussed developing general language for bids that are put in the paper to ensure the process is completed correctly and consistently. Sheriff Greenwood presented bids for repairing the mini split in probation office, which is an insurance claim. He also presented a quote for the mini split in the elevator at the courthouse, which would be paid out of capital expenditures. Tom Lewis made a motion to approve the purchase of both units. Mark Mountain second. Motion carried. We received a letter about capital credits from Illinois Electric Co-op. We need to determine how the program works and if we should claim the credits or not. Walker is working on a purchase agreements for the county property being sold. Mark Mountain made a motion to pay bills in the amount of $6,714.07. Tom Lewis second. Motion carried. Mark Mountain made a motion to adjourn. Tom Lewis second. Motion carried at 6:31. Meeting adjourned.
Motion to approve Building and Grounds minutes. Motion by Andy. Second. Jim? Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Then we have 2 separate motions under Building and Grounds. The first one is approval of proposal by Peters Heating and Air Conditioning Incorporated in the amount of $4,998 to remove current equipment and install a Carrier 12,000 BTU ductless split heat pump in the elevator equipment room. This will be paid from Building and Grounds maintenance line. Do I have a motion to approve? Tom? Second by Don. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion's approved. The second one is approval of proposal by Peters Heating and Air Conditioning, Inc. in the amount of $4,472 to remove current equipment and install a Samsung 12,000 BTU ductless split heat pump in the probation office. This will be paid from the insurance line. Have a motion. Tom? Second by Derek. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Tom, Public Safety minutes?
Thank you. The Public Safety Committee met at 7 p.m. at the ambulance building. Members present were Tom Lewis, Andy Barman, Jim Shepard, and Rita Hoskins. Also present were Casey Kendall, State's Attorney Filbert, Sheriff Greenwood, and on-duty employees. Bills in the amount of $104,574.09 was approved on a motion by Shepard and seconded by Barman. Motion carried. Administrator's report. The run report was gone over. There was 196 calls for the month of February and 399 for the year. The budget was discussed, and after expenditures, the ambulance service had a surplus of $15,088.38. The first quarter public safety tax was transferred from the ambulance service to the Pike County Sheriff's Department in the amount of $56,449.15. Personnel, we're fully staffed. Fleet, 3 George 16 is at Gym City 4 with a fuel issue. Building grounds, the hail damage is being repaired with about 2/3 of the building being completed. Education, the EMR class has started with 15 students. The rescue task force class was held on March 8th with 8 employees attending. This class was put on by DNR. This class also had county and city police officers attending, and there are plans to have a second class in the future. PR, Casey was a guest speaker at the Pike County Anglers and spoke about Stop the Bleed and first aid. Casey stated he drew for the AED for the National Heart Month, and the Pike County Little League was the winner. They will also be given an AED and CPR class. Casey also handed out a policy that will be going into effect April 1st, 2026. The policy covers quality assurance, quality improvement, and documentation. Old business, none. New business, State's Attorney Filbert and Sheriff Greenwood discussed the opioid settlement fund. They asked to get approval to purchase a Celebrite digital forensic extraction device. This device can extract information from cell phones and tablets. There is still a procedure the Sheriff's Department must go through, i.e. warrants, before being able to use this device. Currently, the Sheriff's Department must go to another county to use their device. Having our own will save time. The quote for the device is $22,500 with a $5,000 subscription annually after the first year. Currently, the settlement fund has around $97,000. Barman made a motion to allow the Sheriff's Department to purchase the Celebrite digital forensic examination device, seconded by Shepherd, and motion carried. Public comment, none. Motion to adjourn was made by Barman, seconded by Shepherd. Motion carried. The meeting was adjourned at 7:30 p.m.
Motion to approve the public safety minutes. Lance, second by Derek. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. As Tom just read in his minutes, there's a separate motion. Approval of proposal from the Sheriff's Department to use opioid settlement funds. Current balance of funds is $97,921.55 to purchase a Celebrite digital forensic extraction device to support investigations involving opioid trafficking, overdose incidents, and drug-related criminal activity within Pike County. Total cost of the system is $22,500. There is an ongoing $5,000 subscription fee that is annually renewable. Do I have a motion? Motion by Tom, second by Andy. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Are there any other committee reports? Jim?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The Emergency Telephone Systems Board of Pike County met on Monday, March 9th, 2026, in the Emergency Operations Center of the Pike County Jail. Members present were Larry Bradshaw, Casey Kendall, Mike Spann, Josh Martin, Jason White, who doesn't have any on the end, and Jim Shepard. Also present was 911 Coordinator Stephanie Reinhardt. Minutes of the October meeting were approved on a motion by Larry Bradshaw and a second by Jason White. Stephanie Reinhardt presented a Motorola service agreement for the radios for the 26-27 years at a cost of $41,000 and a penny. Motorola is the only company who can provide us with the support for the Motorola radios. This was approved on a motion made by Larry Bradshaw and a second by Josh Martin. The board also approved the purchase of 6 27-inch monitors for dispatch at a cost of $571.96. This was on a motion by Jason White and a second by Mike Spann. Also in her report, Stephanie Reinhardt reported that she is short one dispatcher and is covering with overtime and part-time help. Bills in the amount of $10,271.63 were approved for payment on a motion by Josh Martin and a second by Casey Kendall. Next meeting date is set for June 8, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. Meeting adjourned at 6:24 p.m. on a motion by Jason White and a second by Josh Martin.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes. Tom? Second by Derek. Any discussion?
Yeah, one question.
Don?
Was it actually 41,001 cent?
Yes, that's what I
Okay.
said, it's not a typo. That's actually what it came in at.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a typograph error there.
I make them, so.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. No new business. Under old business, the last couple of meetings, we've been considering some 6-month reports. David sent his in today, but it was too late to make the packets in the agenda, so we'll do that next month. I do have it electronically for David, so I'll be forwarding it to folks. I don't have any chairman remarks.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
real quick, under old business, for what it's worth, Ms. Hashman, who had her case thrown out of court on March 18th, filed a timely notice of appeal to the 4th District Illinois Appellate Court. My professional opinion is that she'll have zero chance there, but I just want to report that.
Thanks, Walker.
Madam Chair.
Derek?
You kind of jumped over it real quick, but a couple of new business items that I'd like to.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Sure, that's fine. So first of all, okay. So last year, the insurance committee went through and bid on the property casualty insurance. I thought we came up with a pretty good option, saved some money, and it didn't go. This year, and what was, I was pretty scolded last year about we didn't do anything timely. I think I addressed it in October or so where there was Jersey County, so a county had opted to go with another co-op identical to what the Hope Trust is, except a much larger. They offer Blue Cross, they offer United Healthcare. They're kind of out of the Chicago area. I just would like to say I would like to go approach them and figure out what there would be as an option for our county and their employees for those health options. But I don't understand what the rest of the board's going to want. Because if I save money and the employees are happy with it, but it's still not with the preferred vendor, agent, whatever else, am I still going to get voted no? I don't know what I need to be presenting as the insurance chair in order to make those decisions for the board to actually take serious consideration on what other alternates to look at. So it's not on the agenda for this time. It was technically voted for last month, or I think last April, so our timing's about right. But I would like to maybe put it on the agenda for the next board meeting about whether we want to go out and seek bids to see if we want alternative rates for property and casualty again, though I don't know that we'll get another quote, and then also on our health insurance. So that new business. Secondly, again, back to where I wasn't sure what questions I didn't answer on the P&C side. Going as an example of what we just went through with the finance minutes, I did my best to read through those, make the adjustments that I thought everybody had emailed me about, and yet we still had board members vote no, but yet didn't offer anything as far as a correction. So again, I don't understand what it is that I'm being asked to do or I'm missing when they said correct something or fix something or answer something, and I do it, or I feel I'm doing it, but yet I still get a no vote. So those are really the two items that I had that, the number one would be putting it on the agenda to potentially quote the property and casualty and the health insurance for April. But I don't have a meeting set up for right now because I don't know if it's really worth our time doing. So, thank you.
Also, under new business, everyone, I'm sure, got the email from Mr. Michael Burbridge, and he's got some ideas on budget oversight, and you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it, no. I missed it. That'd be my problem.
Yeah, it's dated Sunday,
Oh, yeah.
last Sunday.
Yesterday, day before yesterday?
The 22nd, yes.
Okay, that's why I missed it.
So there's some good ideas in his email and something that could be looked at. But
Okay.
on the second item, I would ask Mr. Ross if he's contacted the Hope Trust to see what they might recommend to change on our policies and to maybe save the county some money. You reach out to all other companies, but I'm not sure you've ever reached out to Hope Trust to even have a discussion with them. So,
The discussion that's been had with the Hope Trust to this point has basically been what our claims are claimed to be at and the least expensive health insurance option that they offered. So my understanding is there wasn't going to be anything less expensive, and I am, of course, open to any suggestions on how we can try and mitigate or keep our claims lower, because claims are really what drive the premium. So, and normally when you want to keep those claims lower, it is usually a matter of either raising deductibles, raising copays for prescriptions. I guess I'm just going to honestly say respectfully, I've been doing this long enough. I know what needs to get done within a health plan in order to change rates. And I don't know, it's the Hope Trust, I can't say is doing anything wrong per se. They're rating it based off of how our plan's operating. So therefore, it's a matter of I can call them and say, well, you need to give us cheaper rates. Well, they can't give us cheaper rates if they're paying out $1.10 for every dollar they're collecting. I mean, you just can't stay in business that way. So I would hope that the Hope Trust is giving us the biggest bang for the buck and the best rate that they can offer. But I also think we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we're looking at other things. So therefore, I thought I had enough of I had the most expensive options or the higher expensive options we currently offer. I got the least expensive offer least expensive option that they had available, which was a higher deductible, a lot more out of pocket to the employees, and just really didn't save near enough premium to offset that difference. And that was what was presented to the employees in a survey format, and not surprisingly, none of the employees took it. But I'm happy to go ahead and send an email out to them to say we're going to start looking. What would you recommend as a different shift in the policy design? Is there any employee education that could be given as far as maybe getting more generic instead of brand? And I'm not even saying that's an issue. Maybe they can identify where the claims are really hurting us the best, and maybe they could tweak or tailor something to our plan. Because that's normally what you do in a health plan when you've got a larger employer that's trying to cover employees, to look at where your claims are and if there's a way to modify that. So I will adamantly admit that I have not reached out to the Hope Trust I have not reached out to them. But I also I felt their answer was going to be, we've got you where the rate is because that's what you're spending. And I think that was justified by what the $500,000 was that they said that we would still owe. So
if you come in with another company, who's going to build the policy?
Well, so all of the companies are going to have their already existing policies in place. As I said, the other firm is very similar to what the Hope Trust is doing. So they have other counties, other municipalities, but primarily up in the northern area. And their underwriting or who they're using as their carriers are truly carriers. So it's not designing a self-funded pool to where you're going out there and trying to contract with those those providers directly. You would be getting the benefits of already negotiated contracts that United Healthcare and Blue Cross has for those providers. I'm not saying that they are better contracts than what the Hope Trust has negotiated, but usually, again, claims drive your rates. So if they have less expensive payments that they have to pay due to the volume and size that Blue Cross and United Healthcare have, there's a good possibility their rates may come in less expensive because of that. But we don't know until we look. And again, There's not going to be an apples to apples comparison. The Hope Trust has designed a very specific type of policy for their county clients. And I don't know of any other carrier out there that's offering anything similar. So that was, again, what was kind of addressed during the union negotiation recently, is getting those unions in a committee or an advisory committee. And that's why I would prefer to start doing this sooner than later, is getting things put together and having that discussion with the employees to say, here's what you're currently at. We're not going to be able to match it, but here's something that's comparable. And then here's maybe a $2,000 deductible by the Hope Trust and whatever else, what's that, and so forth. Try and do a side by side for the employees to make a comparison. That's the hope.
But if we still have high claims, no matter what company you go with, your premiums are going to go up.
If we still, yeah, absolutely.
So
And
let 'em
that's
defend
the
it.
other thing that is very important, that we try and get our claims, accurate claims data from our existing provider. Because if we don't get any claims data, then the new company is just kind of guessing. And it doesn't help anybody for them to lowball that number, come in at 20, 30% less, and then say, oh, you're really got this going on, and then give us a 60% increase. Where did that help anything?
Maybe that's a place to start right now, that we ask them in writing to give us our claims information.
Well, the in writing part would be the difference. I mean, it's been discussed numerous times, and I mean, we can get an annual number, it appears, at the time of renewal, but we don't get the monthly information that normally an insurance provider does provide to the client, and that other providers can look at to figure out what the per member per month amount that's being spent on an individual. The other thing is then you get the demographics, so that way you can see, well, if it's an older population, that might be what's driving pharmacy. There's a lot of algorithms and matrices that are used in calculating what rates are, and I don't know that we'll even get enough information from the Hope Trust in order to be able to get that to a carrier to give us a rate. But again, I'd like to go back to, just asking the question, have it on the agenda next month. If it doesn't go anywhere, then that'll just be, don't have to worry about it. So.
Yeah, that's fine. I would like to, if we could submit a written request to them and ask for that information. I don't see any harm in doing that right now.
I can put it in writing when I ask for the other alternatives that they might have as a suggestion.
Yeah.
And see what they say. Thank you.
Jim, do you have any, I mean, you're on their board, do you have any other options or suggestions about how best to get that information from them?
I can talk to Jason, see what he can work out.
That'd be great.
And, they've hired a guy to take some of the burden off of him, so it might be more accessible data than it was before, as far as specific to us.
Great, appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to move on to 14 unless there's something else. And this document, Catherine has in your packet, it's authorizing the cancellation of the certificate of purchase on parcel 47-02004 for the sum of $282.33 to be paid to the county treasurer by the owner. Just a motion. Lance? Second by Tom. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Item 15, annual recertification of Quincy Convention and Visitors Bureau as the entity authorized to represent Pike County in its tourism promotional efforts. Do I have a motion for that? Andy and Tom, second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Item 16, and again, you have a letter in your packet. Due to a resignation, appoint Philip Rubel to the Bay Creek Watershed Conservancy District Board for the remainder of Mr. Paul Barrowman's term.
So moved.
Okay. Tom, second by Lance. Any discussion?
Do we know when Paul's term actually expires to put in minutes?
The letter doesn't say, I don't believe.
Okay. I didn't see it, I didn't know if there was any outside discussion, so, okay. That was it.
Did you have anything, Catherine, extra?
It did not.
Yeah. Okay, motion?
We already got it.
Oh, we got it, sorry. Sorry. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Item 17, the May regular meeting falls on Memorial Day. Since it's scheduled, the meetings for the year, we can have it on Memorial Day. But I'm asking if folks would want to move it to Tuesday.
I've got a meeting on Tuesday.
Okay. How does the majority feel we could, Tuesday's the 26th, Wednesday the 27th?
27th would be better for me, but it's up to everybody else. I can miss a meeting.
Yeah.
I need to.
I'm fine with any night that week. I'm sure probably the clerk's office would rather the sooner the better for Bill.
Okay.
27th, most people okay? Wednesday the 27th?
Okay.
All right, then we'll reschedule to that. Catherine, you want to do the mileage and per diem?
Building and grounds, 6,714.07, public safety, 104,574.09, GIS, 4,107.57, finance committee, 139,974.98 cents, rabies, 5,274.27. Document storage, 206.52, automation fund, 806.67, probation services, 13,599 cents, and circuit clerk document storage, 175.80. State's attorney automation fund, 19,469.25, for a total of $294,309.21. For the county court, the per diem, Don, I had a quick question on your mileage report. You have your mileage, but then you have $500 added in.
That's what the UCCI is paying to attend the meeting. I put it on there because that's what they pay to attend their meeting.
They reimburse the county the $500, not the individual.
So you mean those stipends that everybody gets from outside sources go to the county, not to the individual?
Yes, I mean, yeah, no one gets paid to attend your appointed meetings, mileage, but not.
Those are stipends? Paid by UCCI,
Stipends, but
that's what they call
it
So
goes
that's why I
back
put
to
it
the
on there, because
UCCI.
That's what you deposit in the bank.
Yes, to go back to your budget for the UCCI subscription.
Well, what you put on there doesn't even pay the expenses to get there and back.
Well, that's your mileage reimbursement.
That's just the mileage, not the time.
What else, when we attend meetings, are we supposed to be reimbursed for?
I'm talking about stipends. They call it a stipend. County clerk gets one, treasurer gets one, circuit clerk gets one.
Well, there are
All
elected
right.
official stipends,
Huh?
Don,
Those are outside stipends.
for their salaries.
So we need to go through all that. I'll bring it up to the finance committee next month. We need to know where those funds are going.
What funds?
That 500, the 1,000 that came in on December 2nd, what happened to that? Where'd it go?
It goes back into your budgeted line item that pays for the membership.
No, they refunded the membership.
And then they sent an invoice for 26-27 membership.
And
That's
at the end of the year, they will refund that money to you.
that goes back in to the line item.
Well, I think I heard Don, I'm having trouble hearing you completely, Don, but I think I heard you say discuss this in finance next time.
I
Could
think
we
that's-
hold this
yes.
discussion to that?
So, but he's thinking the $500 goes to him directly?
Yes.
Never,
Never,
before.
Don, never.
Never before.
Tell them to do it in other counties.
I
Okay.
would ask UCCI that question.
Well, I mean, you don't have it on here anyway, so.
No, the representative from Pike County has only been paid mileage and per diem for mileage for the UCCI meetings. Never, that money just goes to the county, the other, anything they pay to the county. That's the way it's always been.
Is it in this report?
No.
You didn't include it in the?
No, I did not.
Okay, so it can wait until finance.
Yeah, it's not on, it's not in here, so.
I had it.
Like I said,
It's
we'll bring it
on
up later.
previous years since I've worked here. No one has ever, no board member has ever been reimbursed the $500.
Okay, then, Derek, can we plan to discuss this at finance, where that money's going? Or, I guess more, what it's being used for?
What it's being used
Oh,
for.
I know where it's going, and I know it's being used for. I just find it's, as other people have said, we've been on the board for however long. I think that's one of the benefits of continuing to renew with ICRT is that, as long as we have that insurance, that helps offset what our cost is to UCCI. And then UCCI takes money, no different than take those meetings, UCCI reimburses for mileage, but I think it's just a flat rate. It's not based on mileage per person because they don't know who all's driving from wherever. So I don't know why they came up with the number they did. But it is interesting when you look at other organizations, they don't reimburse you mileage of anything. I mean, that's usually just the county just pays that for the elected official to go to those meetings. So it's a little different that the organization is actually paying you to show up to a meeting. Most of the time you have to pay to attend a meeting. And you pay for a fee to go through that training and so forth. But, and similar to the Hope Trust has their meetings, their quarterly meetings or whatever they do, and they pay for the room and they pay for the food and they pay for all that type of stuff. Again, an unusual situation where vendors will normally pay those type of things. It's usually we're hosting this, here's your tea and cookies, listen to what we have to say and then you move on. And then you normally would submit your claim directly to the county. And that's what I did with when I went to the training for the battery pack storage or whatever else, for the zoning and with the assessors. I wasn't reimbursed from them. I went ahead and submitted my mileage to be reimbursed from the county. I appreciate that the finance committee did reimburse me. They didn't have to, but I just thought I think somebody had said when you do the work, you get paid. And so I drove all the way over there, collected my information. I gave it to Wyatt and Greg and Nicole and said, here's something that's going to be coming down the thing. So I don't have an answer on why they do it, except it's been done the whole time when I was going to those meetings. That I think the county got the $500 for me too, and I just got whatever my mileage reimbursement is. A similar situation. I'm not a hypocrite either. They actually did reimburse for going out to DC when I had the opportunity to go out there to DC, and the UCCI put that on. They had a great program out there as far as like cyber situations. They had quite a few speakers. We got to meet with Dick Durbin and so forth. So I mean, they do help pay for certain things like that are beneficial to members of the county. But anyway, that's how it's always been. So
right.
We can discuss it in finance.
Which kind of brings up another subject to me on this. We don't have a representative at Hope Trust. Now, but he's representing Hope Trust when he's there. Because he's on their
I
board.
represent the county of Pike.
The board is made up
But
of
how
members.
can you
I'm
vote,
also chairman of-
how can you vote what Pike wants and maybe vote differently on the board at Hope Trust?
So far, that has not come into conflict.
Okay, I just wondered, if there has ever been a
As a
conflict.
rule, what generally benefits Pike County benefits the Hope Trust.
Well, as a general rule, but what I was curious about is how would you vote if it was different?
If it was different, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
Well,
that's,
without a specific, I can't tell you, you know?
And I think I can help with that. So on Friday, House Bill 3003 was actually passed out of committee for what, right now, the bill is prohibited activities of elected officials. The Hope Trust, ICRMT is also a co-sponsor of that too. They're trying to get it to where currently, right now, there are certain boards you can belong to and be able to vote on. A self-funded insurance trust, specifically the Hope Trust, is not labeled as a specific board that you can belong to. So what the Hope Trust has tried to do is introduce language that says that it is an allowed thing. And I brought this up last year too. So that's actually made it out of the committee, and it should be debated this week on the House floor. And then once it goes from the House, then it's got to go to the Senate and all those fun things. So it is being addressed right now, that where you I've often wondered that myself. You have two financial entities here. You've got the county that produces money, and then you've got the Hope Trust that hopes they get money. And how do you reconcile those two in your head to where the county's got a limited amount of money to spend, but the Hope Trust also needs to get money in order to stay solvent? And so how do you make sure that you have an unbiased decision on that? And I think that's one of the reasons why it's being debated right now is that a possibility of having a situation to where you are put in that conflict. But it's a valid point, and it's being discussed actually in the legislature right now. So we'll find out how it goes next week. Or actually, I guess this week. So yeah, it's the last week here in March. So maybe next week. Okay.
I've forgotten, did we have a motion on the billboard report?
Not yet.
The first and second, I mean? Do we have a motion for that, to approve that? Andy, second? Tom? Any other discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, nay?
Wait, is this a billboard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, nay.
Derek votes nay, everyone else, yay?
Yep.
Motion carries. Any comments, questions from the, well, let me, go ahead. Press, you can come on up. Joan, did you have anything? Right.
I have a lot. You might want to go first.
All right, just some things I heard tonight that I guess I either have questions on or things for you guys to think about. The few boards I've been on, we get our packets a minimum of a week ahead of time. So, and I don't know when all your committee meetings are. From what I could tell, it looks like last Wednesday was possibly the last day of most of the committee meetings. With the county board meeting being a month ago, I guess I don't understand why you're receiving your packets the day of the meeting, because there's not a lot of, you guys don't have the opportunity to do what you need to do to be prepared to make all the decisions you need to make if you're getting them the day of. So I guess my comment would be something needs to be looked at, because they're huge. You guys need to have your packets ahead of time to be able to look at those.
I think they should be digital. But
Digital?
others would not agree with that.
Yeah. A lot of this has to do with Mr. Filbert before he left. So I know they talked about making sure you know the role of your board, which I believe is important. I've read the state statutes on county boards so I could understand it better when I was coming the last few months. And when I got done with that, it said, go look for your county statutes. So I went into the county clerk's office, asked for the county statutes. Well, guess what? They've never been cataloged. So when you're told by your legal person to say, follow the rules and procedures and know what your job is, I don't know exactly how you know what your job is, because if the local statutes have never been cataloged and they're like looking at a needle in a haystack, because they showed me all the books and where I could start looking, it was a mess. So I'm not sure exactly how you know exactly how to do your job, because we don't have all that stuff in one place. Huge problem to solve. I'm gonna go back and be the little professional police here, because the tone of voice, the condescension, the snarky comments I'm still hearing, heard those again tonight. when you're going to make a comment, you don't have to say it multiple times and raise your voice and get louder and louder. That's like being a bully. See that in school all the time. I don't need to see it with a bunch of professional people sitting around a table trying to do a board meeting. I find some of the comments, and I'm just going to say it from our legal counsel, were very condescending. I take offense to that as well. There's a lot of talking without answering the question, which is very frustrating to me. Being told that we're wasting time by being up here. And the last part, when a comment was made about not even knowing that number 9 was going to be on the agenda and we need to communicate, and didn't know it was going to be on the finance agenda. Well, I can go back to one of the first few meetings that I came here, and the chairwoman was asked to sign a document, and she brought it up in discussion for you guys to say, hey, are you okay with me signing it? Meanwhile, Mr. Filbert and Mr. Lewis sat here the whole time knowing they'd signed it behind her back and let the discussion go and didn't say a word about it. So I found that to be very unprofessional, considering the comment that was made tonight by Mr. Filbert. Finance Committee, I'm just curious, do you ever disapprove a bill? I don't know. You do, okay. Because to me, if your job is to look at the bills and you say, what power do we have? I would think your power is to disapprove them if you don't want to pay them. My other question is, do you?
Although,
I want to add to that one, because we really don't even have the authority to disapprove it, because if it's passed in the budget, they'll still just sign off on it anyway. And that question was specifically asked, can we go ahead and not approve a bill? And our county clerk, I think, corrected me and said, well, because I even brought up the point that as the finance chair, I don't have to put on the agenda to pay bills. And then the bills wouldn't have to be paid. And then her correction was, well, but you've already approved it in the budget. And so as long as I'm within my budget, those bills are going to get paid. And the best example that I'll bring at, I do have this one in recording, and I think you were there, is that if someone wants to spend $200,000 on pencils, we can't stop that. They can do that because that's within their budget. So unfortunately, that goes back to our frustration of why we're asking for additional opinions, or just to get clarity, is it really doesn't sound like we have a lot of authority as a board to tell somebody no once we pass that budget until the next year when you're trying to work on the budget.
Well, that's what I heard that wasn't answered tonight either, because I heard department heads have to work within the budget, absolutely, by Mr. Filbert. I also heard him say, but they have say in how they're going to use their authority. And so when you asked if they're over budget, can we tell them what to do? Then, well, no, I can't answer that right here on the fly. So it's like you're getting told they can, I get the message they can do whatever they want to. And so what I hear from the county is all the flack on the county board, do your job, do your job, do your job, curtail the spending. But then what I'm hearing and seeing when I look at all the reports is it's up to the department heads to do that. And they're the ones that have the fiducial responsibility that is either not being met or something if you don't have the ability or the power to control their spending. They can do whatever they want. That doesn't sound legit to me, but that's what I heard as well. I do know, because I mailed it to somebody at one time when I was going through the state statutes, because I've heard lots of reports about you guys not getting the reports you want from different offices. And it very clearly says that monthly reports are to be given to the board as dictated by the county board. So you guys do have the say in how you want your reports to look. Derek, I'm gonna pick on you just a little bit tonight. And maybe this is why they didn't vote for that, because I don't know if I would have either. I would just like the finance committee minutes to read just like the GIS, IT, highway ones, whatever. I got lost because I felt like it was a minute, an explanation, and a minute, and a dialogue, and a minute, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like what was the minutes and what was it not? It was just very hard to follow. There was a lot there. I just feel like it wasn't just strictly minutes, it was a lot of sidebar as well. Lance, I'm gonna pick on you. I love the comment level of scrutiny needs to be the same everywhere. I definitely feel it's not. In the 6 months I've been here, there are certain offices that sit here, and the minute they're asked to do something, it's not our job, it's not our job, it's not our job. I am so tired of hearing that. Well, make it your job, take care of it, do something. Even last month when I said, who's in charge of payroll? And Natalie stood up and said, I am. She still wasn't the one that was gonna put in the Social Security, the IMRF. I don't get that, that's part of payroll. So I get really tired of hearing the different. So it's frustrating for me because I feel like you guys are trying to come to terms, you're trying to fix things, and yet I feel like we're told elected officials can do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, but then you guys are under the gun for trying to make the changes. that it seems like we have no power to make. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? David?
My name's David Ifner, and I've spoken to the board several times. I have three things. I'll try to go through them real quickly. I addressed this to the board. Would it be possible for you guys to obtain through some kind of equipment where you probably have in storage to allow the clerk and the state's attorney to have a mic at their facility, and also for people to come down from the galley? Because sometimes we have some fairly light-spoken people that you can't hear. And I'm saying this for the benefit of the people that watch these meetings on Facebook, that we can't hear the comments that are made from the galley. So that's the first one. The second one, I was here about 6 or 8 months ago, and I made a remark about, I asked the board, how many of you guys had law degrees or had gone to law school? And I reiterate tonight, we have a state's attorney who is very learned, and I get kind of tired of listening to various members on the board that have to contradict him all the time. You guys can't make the laws. The laws are written for the people. You have to go along with them. You may not agree with them, and that's on every level, the local level, the state level, the federal level. There's always laws that people do not appreciate, but that's the law. And finally, I just want to say to the board, and I direct this to you kind of, Derek, I appreciate everything you have done trying to get these books in order. You've had a heck of a job trying to cut back and save. My only concern is that I don't know if you understand the inflation or cost of living or the aging of a population very well, that eventually you guys are going to get to a point where you're not going to have any money to do stuff. You're going to have to keep cutting and cutting. Nobody likes to pay taxes, but you guys are going to have to someday try to put together some kind of a rainy day fund that you've got money to take care of it when you have a big issue coming up. And that's my concern, is that, you know, you were talking about the sheriff's office tonight being over budget. Well, look at the price of gas in the last month, how it's gone up 50, 60 cents a gallon. These guys probably put in 10 to 20 gallons of fuel a day, driving around the county, doing their job, and 20 times 50 cents or 80 cents amounts. And I don't know how many sheriff's officers there are out there on patrol doing their job or protecting the public. But like I said, you got to look at the inflation in the terms of medical coverage. You know as well as I do, Derek, is that our workforce here is getting older, and older people have more medical issues than younger ones do. And you'll end up having a lot of problems where workman's comp or whatever because of the aging factor. It's just a natural fact of life. But anyway, like I said, I thank the board for what they do in trying to get these numbers under control. Also,
Thanks, David.
But you have people when they come down to down and talk, introduce themselves so we know who they are. I mean, some of us we know people, but we've had lots of people that have come down and they make their speech and we have no clue, and you guys may not even have a clue who some of them are that come down and put their input in. But that would be one of the other things I would ask the board to consider.
Sure. David, I want to add real quick. I proposed something called a Medicare Bridge. I've started writing this up. I've got a white paper that's going out, and it actually is working on trying to fund Medicare down to age 55 instead of 65. So if I send that to you, I'd like you to take a look at that and see what you think, because if we can get the older population covered under something else, then it may help our health insurance issues all the way around. So anyway, I'll send that to you and you can take a look at it, see what you think.
Scott?
Jim, have anything? Go ahead. Go ahead. I just want to give you a heads up that I'm going to reach back out to our state's attorney. On the 6th of March, I asked him what fulfills the statutory obligations by the county clerk to 55 IL 3/213, which is to provide the county treasurer with vouchers for every expense that's spent. And I haven't gotten a response back from him. I've been working with him through emails. So I'm going to reach back out to him again tomorrow.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Tom, second. Derek, any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, nay? We're adjourned at, Derek, Tom and Derek, 10:06 PM.
You got me down there? Yeah, I can't look.
Okay, Rita, let's get it done.
Get that while I'm down here, appreciate it. Save the needs. Yeah.
She's just been giving them to me at the beginning of the meeting.
Thanks, Andy.
You're welcome.
You're younger than I am. You can get down there.
Yeah, like, what, 2 or 3 years?
3.
I'll get that now.
You wouldn't have payroll, just for the second payroll system, you would have that. And I don't know if that's even possible. Well.
You get on the wrappers picked up.
I love it when I get my money.
The ball's just not around anymore. Is that why? I mean, I never see him, but
He's, I think he's coming home sometime this week, maybe. Been in Florida all winter.
oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
He came home long enough to sign the papers when he sold that farm.
Where's this chick? Oh, I see it.
And, then he went back, so
Just,
they got,
no, chair, I was gonna make sure you get a chair back on the other side. Since you were still sitting, you know.
No, I haven't seen him all winter, but
and his wife, they've got